Welcome back to our five-part series in our webinar titled Take Control, Navigating Obesity Treatment and Advocating for the Care You Deserve. All right, thank you. Welcome back. If you've been part of the series, part one, we talked about obesity and what it means and why it even matters. And in part two, we talked about the multifactorial care of obesity, dived in depth into the history taken, the physical, the labs, the action plan. Today, we're going to talk about the treatment options with a focus on the medications, the first generation medications, as well as the second generation medications. All right. Again, everything is going to be evidence-based, no fluff, just really giving you the science behind it. So let's start off by saying that this didn't happen overnight, right? It just didn't happen. Contrary to popular belief, it didn't just poof from the air. It's been multiple science, multiple research studies that came about. It all started off with diabetes care, and it is spanned all the way to weight loss breakthrough. Okay, so let's start with GLP-1. What does that mean? It's glucagon-like peptide 1. It's a naturally occurring hormone and incretin, and it's produced from the L cells of the stomach lining, and it's released after we eat, and it helps to regulate our blood sugar and metabolism. That's a good thing, right? The only thing is that the way it's made from our intestine is so short-lived because of so many factors, environmental factors. It's just not responding as well for several reasons. And so that was where the pharmaceutical company were able to derive it and extend the half-life. Now, in case you're wondering what does a GLP receptor agonist means, agonist just means it activates the receptors, okay? So that when the drug binds to the GLP-1 receptors, it mimics the natural hormones, okay? So when people tell you they're expecting to see all sorts of complications many years down the line, it's what we naturally make. It's like insulin, right? It's the same thing. Like insulin is a peptide, it's a hormone, same thing like insulin, okay? So where did this GLP-1s come from? All right, so it comes from a larger precursor hormone, and it's known, I mean, without being geeking out here, it's proglycagon, and it splits into multiple peptides known as glucagon in the pancreas and the GLP-1 and the GLP-2 in the gut. Okay. So as early back as the 1960s and 70s, scientists discovered the incretin factor. All right. And then in the 1980s, then the GLP identified as one of the key incretin hormones. And then the only problem is that, again, like I said, they found out that the GLP-1 was broken down in 1 to 2 minutes by an enzyme known as DPP4. Okay. Now, there was a breakthrough in the early 90s, the Gila monster, monster. The research discovered that the peptide in the saliva of the Gila monster, it's a desert lizard. Ew, very ugly. It had this peptide called the exidin 4. So, long story short, that's where it all began. They extended the half-life. So that's where semaglutide was the first one that came out. And I'll show you a picture of the timeline. All right. So semaglutide, as a matter of fact, let me show you semaglutide. Semaglutide started off in the form of Ozempic, synthetic synthetic GLP receptor agonist, Ozempic. So this was started as for diabetes. Okay, so it will bind to the albumin and it will last 1 week, and it worked really well because it mimicked the GLP and it lasted longer. Right, it was used for a week. It helped to regulate appetite, insulin, and glucose control and weight management. So the brand name was Ozempic. It also came in Rosbressos, which was the oral form, and it also came in the form of Wegovy. The Wegovy part of it, though, was more for weight management. Because when they found out that people were losing a lot of weight for diabetes, they said, oh, let's get the weight loss form in Wegovy. So Wegovy and Ozempic are the same thing as semaglutide, okay? And then recently you might have seen where Wegovy came out in a pill form. Rebosa is also a pill form, but that didn't stay too long. And then we now have the Wegovy, which came out in a tablet form. Okay, so Wegovy in a tablet form, and that's what we have for semaglutide. Okay, then came along Tirzepatide. Tirzepatide is where you hear the Zepbound for weight loss and the Mounjaro. All right, so these are the pens. It's very tiny, the needle, very, very tiny. It's like your eyelash, very, very tiny, once a week. All right, so these are the pens, okay? They most recently came out with, if you were getting it from the pharmacy, from the company directly, they came out with the key pen where everything is in one pen, or they came out with the syringe, the vial, where it's all contained in this vial, and then like an insulin, and you would just use this to take out the amount that you need. And you might have heard that there's a tablet form called Fundio. So there's a lot of development in the weight loss management, era where it's just to improve the different options available for patients that struggle with obesity. Now, for tirzepatide, which is what I just showed you, is a dual incretin receptor agonist. Okay, so it's GLP-1, the glucagon-like peptide-1 receptor agonist, and then it's also the GLP receptor agonist. So the GLP is just the glucose dependent, the glucose dependent insulin nootropic polypeptide. You see this, it's so tongue-tied, so many names. So GLP-1 plus a GIP. All right, so that is the tirzepatide, okay? But the important thing to know is that it's a dual action. It helps with greater weight loss than the GLP-1s alone, and it also has strong glucose control, and it helps with flexible metabolic flexibility. I should say that better. So it potentially helps with better metabolic flexibility. So just to clarify, again, both of them, same trade name, semaglutide, tirzepatide, they just are broken into two different names of medications for two different indications. All right. So very, very important to know. Let me show you a picture. I think it'll be important to show you the timeline since I said I was going to share both, going to share both um, first generation and second generation. I just focused on the injections, but way before the injections came out, we had tablets, the pills, right? So phentermine is a weight loss medication. It started in the early 1959s, right? And it's short acting. You only use it for a minimum of 3 months. Really does help with weight loss for sure. And then the Olistat, which is Ali, it's over the counter. It helps as a reduces fat absorption. Then we now have longer acting weight loss medication like the phentermine with topiramate. It's called Cusimia. That was in 2013. And then in 2014, the following year, there was a combination medication called Concave, which is bupropion and naltrexone. And again, I mentioned the tablet, right? The semaglutide or Wegovy tablets away from the injections. Now the injections, let's talk about the injections. When it initially started out, it started out um, Cassandra, yeah, Sansandia, the liraglutide. That was the one that came out initially in 2014. And then we have others that we don't talk enough about, which is the set melonotide. That's more for patients that have like type 1 diabetes. And then, of course, we have our weekly injections, semaglutide, Wegovy in 2021, and then our Tirzepatide came out in 2023. All right. So each medicines offer their benefits and side effects, and that's why you need a well-qualified doctor that knows how to care for patients with diabetes or weight and not create any bias. Make sure that you're on the right medications, you're monitored closely. In the next series, part 4, I'm going to share how these medications work and what is the indication to be on it, who is the right candidate and who isn't the right candidate. All right, so I hope you come back for more of this series. It's all about empowering us and educating us so that we can live at our finest well-being.